G'day, my name is Scott Picken. I'm the founder and CEO of Wealth Migrate, one of the premier crowdfunding sites around the world. And I thought, what an opportune time. I am literally standing here on the Great Wall of China, one of the 8 man-made wonders of the world. And this could not be a better place, not only because of how incredible this thing is, but because of the significance of it. Back in BC, basically, in 221 BC was when they first started building this wall. It took over 10 years, took over 1 million people, and over 500,000 actually died. Now, considering that there were only 5 million people in China, it was 20% of people it took to build this wall. It was then built again in AD, basically, in 70 AD. And this time it was actually the Silk Road. It was to allow trade between East and West. So originally it was to stop the invaders coming from the north and protect them in the east. Then it was to allow trade from the east to the west. And then again in the 14th century, they actually built this out of brick. You can see the brick here. It took over 100 years. It's 6,000 kilometers long. But what was fascinating is this was the first use of the internet ever. They used to have fires all the way down this wall. You can see all the turrets there. And if there was any invaders coming from over there in the north, they would set off fires, and these fires would go all the way down the wall. And then when they got to the bottom, the guys would get on horse and they would ride through to the Forbidden City, which is where the emperor lived. And they reckoned that that information could travel as fast as a jeep driving at full speed. And so that was the very first use of information, or transfer of information. And I thought, wow, we want to understand crowdfunding. And here I am standing on the Great Wall of China, trying to understand and tell you and explain to you what is crowdfunding. And this is where the internet all started. When one looks at it and when one thinks about Alibaba, this wall, although it's a significant wall in itself, it's also a metaphor, because until Alibaba came along, it was virtually impossible to do business between the East and the West. I mean, even now, it's 2015, I can't speak Mandarin, and it is virtually impossible to communicate because nobody else can speak English. The customs are different, the languages are different, and this Great Wall of China makes the difference between East and West so difficult. And then Alibaba came along, and with the use of the internet and with the use of third-party accreditation, it broke down those barriers. It increased the trust, it increased the transparency, and suddenly you have the 4th biggest company in the world. Once again, technology has solved one of the greatest challenges on the planet, and it has empowered a company, and it has empowered millions and millions and millions of people, with over 350 million people actually using Alibaba. And so really for me, when one looks at real estate, people are looking to invest. They've created tremendous wealth here in China on this side of the wall. And now they're looking to invest outside of China. Over $15 billion left in just 2014 from China to England, Australia, and America. And so really, what is technology going to do? Well, they are being charged huge amount of fees. There's a huge amount of costs. There's no trust. There's no transparency. Most of them are getting completely swindled in both directions. And yet the people in the West are too scared to invest in the East because they don't understand the language or the customs, and they don't understand the politics or the legal system or even the currency. And so what you've got is this massive Great Wall of China between business in the East and in the West, in terms of where people are doing it. And so, for me, I found out today that my symbol, and when I was born, is a dragon. But a dragon is all about power and prosperity. And I thought it's so significant to be standing here, literally on the Great Wall of China, where the internet actually started, and to explain what is happening. The internet started in 1994, 1995, 20 years ago. And as Bezos, the founder of Amazon, said, even now, we're not at the internet of everything, which is where they say that we're going. We're in the internet of some things, as he describes it. And now, 20 years later, the internet is starting to have a material impact on industries, only in the last 4 to 5 years, whether it's taxis, travel, music, publishing, holidays. Alibaba, what's that? Real retail, basically. It's happening everywhere. But the question is now, when is it going to happen in real estate? And more importantly, why will it not happen in real estate? The greatest challenge we've got on this planet is that 49% of the world's wealth is actually held in real estate, and yet only 12.9% of the world's population has access to real estate. There are three major barriers to entry. Well, firstly, in this very country right here, you are not allowed to own land. Okay, so literally it's just not accessible. Then you've got barriers to entry like education or accessibility, or the fact that 2/3 of people on the planet that are illiterate are women. And then you've ultimately got the situation where you've got education, accessibility, the funding gap, and all of them provide a massive, massive barrier to entry. And with technology now, just like with Alibaba, just like with this Great Wall, that can be broken down. This can ultimately be the solution where we can provide and change the wealth gap. We can provide that solution through the wealth movement and empower the 99%. And so I ask all crowdfunders out there to go out there, and if something significant like this can be created, we too can do the same. Go out there, let's make it happen.